Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. The Secretary will close the roll. Members, please stand for the prayer. Today's chaplain is our Senate chaplain, Pastor Mike Smith of Redeeming Love Church in Maplewood. And following the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, Senators. I want to assure you that I pray for you more than just this moment. You're always in my thoughts, in my heart, in my prayer. Psalm 32 says this: "Blessed is the one whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord does not count against them, and whose spirit is no deceit. When I acknowledged my sin to you, you did not cover them up. I said, I will confess them to the Lord, and you forgave me. Therefore, let the faithful pray to you while you may be found." So let's pray. Oh God, I believe deep in my heart that you are a God who answers prayer. So I pray today for this Minnesota Senate. Each one of these senators, Lord, have given themselves for the purposes that they share in common to see Minnesota prosper. I pray for the House of Representatives, and I pray for our governor. I pray for the cities and the villages, the towns of our state. Lord, I pray for the mayors, the police, the fire departments, and for city councils. I pray today for peace and protection upon our city streets. Lord, I pray for our schools. I pray for our businesses. I pray for protection and peace. Lord, I know that we are called here to be leaders, but the purest form of leadership is to be a servant. So I ask for all who are in authority that you would give each of us the heart of a servant. So I'm so thankful again for these men and women who have sacrificed in order to serve Minnesota. Yes, we've all had our faults. We've all failed. We all have sinned. But I pray that we would not just react to each other's faults and failings, but with your help, I pray that we would respond to one another with mercy and grace, humility and forgiveness. And again, I pray, may we come to a place in this building where we become a demonstration to our nation of what functional government would look like. So I close with this. I thank you that you're always longing to forgive us. You always desire to demonstrate your great love. So with that today, I pray your blessings would rest upon this gathering. And I always pray that you give us wisdom and understanding so that we can serve you in the state of Minnesota with the highest quality possible. Amen.
The Secretary will take the roll.
Senators Abler, Anderson, Bach, Benson, Bigham, Carlson, Chamberlain, Champion, Clausen, Coleman, Swayzinski, Dahms, Dibble, Dornick, Draheim, Duckworth, Dietzick, Eaton, Eichhorn, Eakin, Fate, Friends, Gazelka, Goggin, Herr, Hoffman, Housley, Howe, Ingerbritsen, Isaacson, Jasinski, Johnson, Johnson, Stewart, Kent, Kiffmeyer, Klein, Coran, Kunish, Lang, Latz, Limmer, Lopez, Franzen, Marty, Matthews, McEwen, Miller, Murphy, Nelson, Newman, Newton, Osmic, Port, Pratt, Putnam, Rarick, Rest, Rosen, Rude, Senjum, Tomasoni, Torres Ray, Utke, Weber, Westrom, Uyghur, Wickland.
Pursuant to Rule 14.1, the following members intend to vote under Rule 40.7. The Senators Anderson, Chamberlain, Draheim, Eakin, Fateh, Housley, Lang, Matthews, Newton, Tomasoni, Torres Ray, and Wickland. A quorum is present. Beginning under the second order of business, executive and official communications. The following communications were received and referred as indicated. No action is required. Moving to the third order of business, messages from the House. The Secretary will read the message.
Mr. President, I have the honor to announce the passage by the House of the following Senate file herewith returned. Senate file number 3288, a bill for an act relating to commerce. Patrick D. Murphy, Chief Clerk, House of Representatives.
No action is required. The Secretary will read the next message.
Mr. President, I have the honor to announce the passage by the House of the following House files herewith transmitted. House file numbers 3255, 3400, and 3955. Patrick D. Murphy, Chief Clerk, House of Representatives.
No action is required. Moving to the fourth order of business, first reading of House bills. The House files are given their first reading and referred as indicated. Moving to the fifth order of business, reports of committees. Senator Miller.
Mr. President, I believe that I'm moving the committee reports printed in the agenda to be adopted.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Moving to the seventh order of business, second reading of House bills. The Secretary will read the House file numbers.
House file numbers 1829, 2354, and 2665.
The House files will begin their second reading. Moving to the eighth order of business, introduction and first reading of Senate bills. The bills in today's introduction calendar are given their first reading and referred as indicated. Moving to the ninth order of business, motions and resolutions. We will adopt the author motion as a single motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Senator Dibble.
Mr. President, I would like to impose a call of the Senate.
The Senate is under call.
And Mr. President,
I just texted Carly, so was this ever call first? And then you did. Good move.
Senator Dibble.
and Mr. President, I would like to impose the call for the duration of a motion I'm about to make.
Senate will be under call through the duration of the motion. Senator Dibble, before you make that motion or make your motion, Senate Resolution number 143 is referred to the Committee on Rules and Administration. Senator Dibble.
Mr. President, I move that Senate File 1871 be withdrawn from the Committee on Health and Human Services, Finance and Policy, be given its second reading and placed on general orders.
Senator Dibble, I need you to lift the call.
Oh, Mr. President, I lift the call.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. Secretary will close the roll. Senator Dibble reiterates his motion to have Senate File 1871 withdrawn from committee. Senator Dibble, to that motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senate File 1871 is known as the Conversion Therapy Ban Bill. Mr. President, members, I believe very strongly that bringing this bill before the full Senate for consideration and debate is a very urgent matter. I have requested repeatedly that this bill be heard in committee so that a discussion of this matter can be held, and I've done so for the past 2 years of this biennium. Mr. President and members, I have not received such a hearing, and with 3 days left in the biennium before we adjourn sine die, I've come to believe that I've been denied such a hearing. Also, Mr. President, I'll mention that there have been 2 attempts to have this matter amended to Health and Human Services omnibus bills by myself last year as we're establishing the budget, the 2-year budget for the state, and a couple of weeks ago by my good friend Senator Isaacson as we were considering a supplemental budget on the subject of health and human services. In both instances, the subject was ruled not germane to those bills, and so we were also, at that time, denied the opportunity to have a full debate and consideration of the merits of establishing this policy, and done so by the majority. Last week, Mr. President, and this goes to the foundation of why I have really become aware and acutely aware of why this is an urgent matter for which the time has come. I was informed by a member of the majority that a bill was going to be brought forward that contained a number of measures pertaining to mental health policy, services, and finance. And I'm somewhat familiar with the bill, and I believe and agree that it is a bill full of a lot of good work and a lot of good bipartisan work. I was told that the conversion therapy, in the opinion of this member and the majority caucus, was more likely than not germane if I were to offer an amendment. However, I was told, some would say threatened, that if I attempted to do so, the bill would be withdrawn and all of that good work would be killed. So should I attempt to address the mental health crisis of LGBTQ children in our state who are subject to nothing less than what is a barbaric torture, a practice that demeans, degrades, and dehumanizes them to the point to which they contemplate and sometimes commit suicide, that the bill would be tabled and I would be responsible for killing all that work. I will just add, Mr. President, that one of the pieces, one of the elements of this bill is the excellent work of Senator Isaacson to address the crisis of young people having social and emotional emergencies who, for lack of facilities, are basically abandoned in the care, with no care in the hallways or holding rooms of emergency departments all across our state. This is why I think the matter is urgent, Mr. President, because the majority, I was informed that the majority has enough votes among their caucus to allow that measure to go on to that bill. Hence, there was a push to quash it, to muzzle me, and as leaders of the state charged with the care of everyone, to turn our backs on these young LGBTQ Minnesotans. So the paradox, of course, Mr. President, the irony of this whole episode, that many of the young people who need the services in that bill for which we could have amended a conversion therapy ban would be served by that bill. We could have improved that bill, voted for it, sent it on its way to the House. Mr. President, this bill has been put out of view and out of reach for too long. We now know that the votes are in this chamber here today for this issue to be considered, debated, and receive the votes for its successful passage by any measure, Mr. President. That means the time has come to finally ban the scourge of conversion therapy from the state of Minnesota. I ask for a roll call.
Roll call requested and roll call granted. Members, I'm developing a list here, so just a moment. A reminder, this does require 41 votes to pass, and Senator Dibble has done a very good job of explaining the bill itself. So again, just to remind you, this is the motion to withdraw and place on general orders, and the conversation should be, generally speaking, confined to the urgency of bringing this up onto the floor now. Certainly you could speak a little bit to the bill, but I just want to remind people that this is to the urgency to bring the bill to the floor. First on my list is Senator Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I stand in support of Senator Dibble's motion to move Senate File 1871 from Health and Human Services and to the general orders, because it is time for this discussion, well past time, and this is urgent. I believe it is urgent because once we understand, as we do now, that it is clear that conversion therapy is a treatment that is harmful, that is damaging, and by some has been declared torture. Once we understand that that therapy directed at young people in Minnesota causes harm, that we, those elected, this body of senators, elected to protect the safety and the well-being of Minnesotans, must act and act with urgency. This is an urgent matter. It should be debated. I rise in support. Thank you, Senator Dibble, for bringing this forward.
Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise in support of Senator Dibble's motion to move Senate File 1871 to general orders. And I will speak about the urgency in the most plain way possible. as a mother, as somebody who cares about young people, as I know all of us do, it is bad for young people. It hurts them. And when our young people, our kids, are in danger, we act with urgency. There was a study done recently by the Journal of the American Medical Association that says, it found that people who underwent this practice had serious psychological distress, had significantly higher rates of depression and substance use problems, and attempted suicide more. I cannot think of anything more urgent than to make sure that this practice is no longer allowed in the state of Minnesota.
Senator Eaton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand in support of Senate File 1871 coming to the floor for consideration. I spent 40 years working in mental health, and I worked with many, many people who had discovered that they were gay or whatever, and were depressed and suicidal because of the ostracism and the pressures that were put on them to change, to be normal, or whatever the word is. We had in Anoka Hennepin School District, we had a large number of children in that school district attempt suicide because of the pressures put on them because of the fact that they were gay. And I just think that bringing this up for a discussion is urgent at this time. Children have the right to be appreciated for who they are.
Senator Port.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. There is nothing that we do in this job that is more urgent than protecting our children. The author of this bill has for years followed the process, requested hearings, tried to amend this onto bills, and has been blocked for having this conversation at every step. We cannot continue to put off this conversation in this chamber. It is our responsibility as senators in the state of Minnesota to protect our children, and banning such a dangerous and harmful practice that we have the data. We know this practice harms our children. It is absolutely urgent that we act on that. If we are not responsible to act when we know that Minnesotans are coming to harm because of a practice allowed in this state, I don't know what our job is. That is the very basic tenets of our job. So members, I urge you to step up. Let's have this debate today. Let's move forward to protect LGBTQ children across the state of Minnesota.
Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise in support of taking this bill out of committee so that we can hear and discuss this urgent healthcare crisis. Conversion therapy doesn't work, and research shows that young people experience conversion therapy as family rejection in a time when suicide rates have doubled in the last 20 years. These children subject to family rejection are over 8 times more likely to attempt suicide and more than 6 times more likely to report high levels of depression. Again, this is an urgent matter. Many of us have had our families touched by family members taking their own life. Suicide is epidemic right now, and especially in our teens. I strongly urge the recognition of the urgency of this matter. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll on the motion to withdraw and place on general orders. I call on Senator Hur to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Hur.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report aye for Senator Eakin.
Eakin votes aye. Senator Hur.
Aye for Senator Fateh.
Fateh votes aye. Senator Hur.
Aye for Senator Newton.
Newton votes aye. Senator Hur.
Aye for Senator Torres Ray.
Torres Ray votes aye. Senator Hur.
Aye for Senator Wickland.
Wickland votes aye.
Thank you.
Call on Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Chamberlain votes no.
Chamberlain votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes no.
Lang votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Matthews votes no.
Matthews votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Tomasoni votes aye.
Tomasoni votes aye. All members having voted with the desire to vote.
Mr. President,
Senator Dibble, for what purpose do you rise?
I would like to request those not voting please vote where you are under call.
You are correct, Senator. They are not in the room. I can hold the board open. I'm not sure where they are. So, Senator Dibble.
Mr. President, I would like to hold the board open so everyone can have the opportunity to vote on this important subject. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator Jasinski.
Senator Housley votes aye.
Housley votes aye.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes nay.
Mr. President, I believe the two not voting are excused. We can close the roll.
Just saw the additional one come up. That is correct. The other one is excused. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 34 ayes and 31 nays, the motion to withdraw does not prevail. Senator Miller. I did that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I'm going to call for recess to the call of the President. We expect it to be about 45 minutes or so.
Senator Miller renews his motion to adjourn to recess to the call of the President. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. The Senate is in recess.